It's funny, the things you think you'll miss about someone. After Alex died, I thought it'd be the big stuff. His laugh, the way he could argue about movies for hours, his terrible attempts at cooking. And, yeah, I miss those things. We all did. Me, Chloe, Sam. We were a foursome, you know? Alex was the glue. Or maybe he was the spark. Either way, when he was gone, the shape of things changed. Permanently. About 6 months after the funeral, his parents asked if we'd go to their old lake house. Alex had loved that place. Spent every summer there as a kid. They couldn't bring themselves to sort through his belongings that he'd kept there. Old books, fishing gear, random teenage junk. They thought maybe we could. A final goodbye, maybe find some closure. We all said yes. It felt like the right thing to do, a pilgrimage almost. The house, well, it was old. Rustic, they call it. I called it a bit creepy even when Alex was alive, but he'd just laugh. It was 2 stories, wooden, nestled deep in the trees, a fair way from the nearest neighbor. The kind of place where your phone signal goes to die. And the silence. That was the first thing that hit me when we got there. Not peaceful silence. This was a thick, heavy, oppressive silence. Like the air itself was holding its breath. We arrived on a Friday afternoon. The plan was to spend the weekend, sort what we could, share some memories, maybe even try to laugh a little. Normalcy. That's what we were aiming for, I think. A return to some semblance of it. The first evening was okay. We unpacked, made a simple dinner. Chloe tried to keep the conversation light. Sam mostly stared out at the window at the darkening lake. I found myself wandering through the rooms. Alex's old bedroom upstairs was pretty much as he'd left it years ago, before he moved to the city. A layer of dust over everything, a single faded poster of some band still thumbtacked to the wall. It felt heavy in there. I didn't stay long. That night I had trouble sleeping. The silence, you know. It wasn't just quiet. It was empty. Like all sound had been vacuumed out. Every creak of the old house settling was magnified, made sinister. I told myself it was just the unfamiliar surroundings, grief playing tricks. The next morning, Saturday, we started on Alex's things in the small attic room he'd used as a kind of study/dumping ground. Boxes of books, old college notes, a few forgotten art projects. It was dusty, and the air was stale. And that's when I first noticed it. The smell. It was faint. So faint I thought I was imagining it at first. A strange mix. Old paper, definitely. But underneath that, something else. Something sweetish, almost floral, but with a sharper, almost metallic tang to it. It wasn't unpleasant, not exactly. Just unusual. Out of place. "Do you guys smell that?" I asked, wrinkling my nose. Chloe was sifting through a box of photographs. "Smell what? Dust? My kingdom for a feather duster." Sam shook his head. Didn't even look up from a tattered fishing manual he'd found. "Just smells like old house to me, Liam." I let it go. Maybe it was just me. My senses on high alert or something. We worked for a few hours. Found a few things that made us smile. An old ridiculous hat Alex used to wear. A journal filled with terrible poetry he'd written when he was 16. But mostly, it was just stuff. The remnants of a life. The smell, though, seemed to cling to certain things. A particular stack of books, a worn wooden box he'd kept pencils in. That sweet, metallic, papery odor. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. It wasn't a perfume he wore, not exactly. It was different. Later that afternoon, I was alone in the living room. Chloe was napping. Sam had gone for a walk down by the lake. The silence was back, pressing in. I was trying to read, but the words wouldn't stick. My mind kept drifting. And then I heard it. A sound. Or the ghost of a sound, really. So quiet I almost missed it. A soft, rhythmic tapping. Like fingernails on a wooden surface. Tap, tap, tap. Pause, tap, tap, tap. It seemed to be coming from upstairs. From the direction of Alex's old bedroom. My heart did a little flutter. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding ridiculously loud in the stillness. No reply. Of course not. Chloe was asleep downstairs. Sam was outside. I got up slowly, walked to the bottom of the narrow staircase, listened. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. It was definitely there. Faint, but undeniable. I climbed the stairs, each creak under my feet sounding like a gunshot. The hallway upstairs was dim. The door to Alex's bedroom was slightly ajar. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from in there. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. Dust motes dancing in the single shaft of light from the grimy window. The tapping stopped the moment the door moved. I stood there listening. Nothing. Just that heavy, oppressive silence again. And the smell. That strange, sweet, metallic, papery smell. It was stronger in here. Much stronger. I told myself it was the house settling. Old pipes, a branch tapping against the window, even though the trees were a fair distance away. Anything but what my gut was starting to churn about. When Chloe woke up and Sam came back, I mentioned the tapping. "Probably just a mouse in the walls, Liam," Chloe said, yawning. "This place is ancient." Sam shrugged. "Could be anything. Don't let it get to you." But it was getting to me. The smell, the sound, they felt connected. Connected to Alex, connected to this house. My mind started to spin. I've always had a bit of an overactive imagination, but this felt different. This felt specific. That night, sleep was impossible. Every time I started to drift off, I'd hear it. Tap, tap, tap. And the smell would waft in, even with the bedroom door closed. It was like Alex was there, just out of sight, trying to get my attention. But why? And why me? Sunday, our last day. We were supposed to finish up, pack, and leave. But I couldn't focus on sorting anything. My obsession was taking root. I had to know what that tapping was. I had to understand the smell. I started going through Alex's things with a different kind of intensity. Not looking for mementos, but for clues. What did he do in this house? What were his habits? The other two noticed, of course. "Liam, you okay?" Chloe asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "You seem a bit wired." "I'm fine," I snapped, probably a bit too harshly. "Just want to get this done." But I wasn't fine. I was becoming consumed. The tapping wasn't just random anymore. I started to recognize the rhythm. It was a nervous habit Alex had when he was concentrating hard on something, or when he was anxious. He'd tap his fingers. 3 quick taps, pause. 3 quick taps. On his desk, on his leg, on whatever was nearby. And the smell. I finally placed a part of it. The sweetish floral note. It was similar to a specific brand of incense Alex used to burn sometimes when he was trying to de-stress. A cheap kind he'd found in a small shop in the city. But the metallic, papery part was still off. wrong. I found an old journal of his from one of those summers. I sat on the floor of the attic room, the oppressive silence amplifying the frantic thumping of my own heart. And I read. Standard teenage angst, observations about the lake, frustrations with his summer job, nothing out of the ordinary. Until one entry. "The stillness here is getting to me," he'd written. "It's too quiet. It makes me feel like I'm the only person left in the world. Started burning that incense Sarah gave me. Helps a bit, and I keep tapping. Dad says it'll drive him mad, but the silence is worse." My blood ran cold. He'd felt it too. This oppressive silence. And he'd tapped. He'd burned incense. The smell in the room seemed to intensify as I read it, that strange, corrupted version of the incense. And then, the tapping started. From the corner of the room. Tap, tap, tap. Clearer now, more insistent. "Alex?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The tapping stopped. The smell receded just a fraction. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, a growing dread coiling in my stomach. Chloe and Sam were largely oblivious, packing up the few items his parents had asked for specifically, chatting about getting back to the city. I felt like I was in a completely different reality to them. They'd occasionally look at me with worried glances, but mostly left me to my brooding. My obsession had found its focus. The journal, the tapping, the smell. It wasn't just random occurrences, it was a pattern. It was him, but what did it mean? What was he trying to communicate? That evening, as dusk began to settle and the house sank deeper into its unnerving quiet, I knew I couldn't leave without trying to understand. Chloe and Sam were in the kitchen, making some noise for a change, a radio playing softly. I slipped upstairs to Alex's old bedroom. The smell was thick in there, cloying. The air was cold, colder than the rest of the house. I stood in the center of the room, my heart pounding. "Alex?" I said, louder this time. "Alex, if you're here, what do you want?" Only the oppressive silence answered me. For a moment I felt foolish. A grown man talking to an empty room, grief-addled. Then tap, 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 right behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Tap, 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 to my left, near the dusty window. "Stop it!" I almost shouted. "What is it? What are you trying to tell me?" The smell shifted then. The sweet floral note almost vanished, and that metallic papery scent became stronger, sharper, and something else mixed in. Something acrid like burnt wires or beer. It was the smell of sheer panic. And the room grew colder. The silence became so profound it felt like my eardrums would burst. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. This wasn't Alex, the friend I knew. This was something else. An echo. Yes, but a distorted one. An echo trapped in a loop of its own unease. "The silence," I whispered, a horrifying understanding dawning. "You hated the silence here. It made you anxious. The tapping, the incense. You were trying to break it, to keep it at bay." Tap, tap, tap. Faster now. More frantic, coming from all around the room. Not a request for communication. A symptom. A desperate, unending reaction to the crushing weight of the stillness he had felt, and was perhaps still feeling. The smell intensified again. That burnt, fearful odor. And it was like I could feel his old anxiety, his teenage dread pressing in on me, suffocating me. It wasn't a message for me. It was just him. Or the worst, most frightened part of him, imprinted on this place, replaying its old fears endlessly because there was nothing else but the silence. I don't know how long I stood there, caught in that awful, empathetic loop. It felt like an eternity. The psychological torment wasn't that Alex was a vengeful spirit, or even a sad one trying to reach out with a specific message. It was the realization that what lingered wasn't his peace, or his love, or his humor. It was his raw, unprocessed anxiety. Stuck. An endless, silent scream against an oppressive quiet no one else could truly hear. I stumbled out of the room, gasping for air, the acrid smell clinging to my clothes, the ghost of those frantic taps echoing in my head. Chloe and Sam found me on the landing, pale and shaking.
Liam, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Chloe's voice was sharp with alarm.
I couldn't tell them. How could I explain that our friend was trapped, not in a haunted house, but in a haunted state of being? And this old house was just the amplifier for his unending, silent terror. That the recurring sound wasn't a call, but a cry he couldn't stop. We left that night. I insisted. I couldn't spend another minute in that house breathing that unsettled air. The drive back was mostly silent. They asked a few questions, but I think they saw something in my eyes that made them stop.
It's been a year since then. I don't hear the tapping anymore. Not usually. But sometimes when it's very quiet when I'm alone, I'll catch a whiff of it. That strange, sweet, metallic, papery smell. Not the incense, not Alex's memory, but the scent of that room. The scent of his fear. And I understand in a way that chills me to my core that some silences aren't empty. They're full of what we leave behind. And sometimes, what we leave behind isn't peace. It's just an echo, forever trying to break a silence that can never truly be broken. Our friendship, the three of us, it's different now. There's a space where Alex was, sure. But there's a new silence between us too, born from that weekend. A silence I don't think any of us really know how to fill. And that perhaps is the most unsettling part of it all.